Welcome everyone, and she today is going to be so late. I'm looking forward to learn even myself. And I know you're thinking, Faith, do you have good guests for us today? Of course I do. I always do, and I won't let you down. And we're still talking about the fourth trimester, and today just delving a little deeper to, you have a job, you maybe have maternity leave for 3 months, and then you have to go back to work. Then what? So these ladies are like cheerleaders of going back to work after maternity leave. So they'll take us through everything we need to know. You just better keep it locked. So I'll just go directly to you guys and ask you to introduce yourselves. Maybe we start with you.
Okay.
So tell us a little about yourself, then we can get into it.
So I'm Grace Murugi. I am a child of God, so I like to say God's child everywhere. I'm married to Greg Wanjama, and together we have 2 children, Gabriel, who's 11, and George, who just turned 8, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Is it a thing? I just had Greg, Grace. And your
Greg,
kids as
Grace, Gabriel, George,
Wow.
and then God. So it's like
Oh, wow.
4G.
I feel like I need to start afresh.
You have time. You have time. You have time.
And rename. That's your first tip of the day. Name your kids in that sort of line. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
You have to tell us what you do.
So I'm a digital strategist, currently working at Oxfam International. So we take care of we do a lot of work at Oxfam. So we do humanitarian work, climate work, gender work. And so what I do as the digital strategist is just make sure that all those things come alive on our digital platforms.
Oh, wow.
So that's the website and across all social media channels.
Oh, fantastic.
So that is what I do. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, so I am Liz Sonia Mbeneka. I love Jesus. I'm also married to Dick Mayaka, and we have 3 children, Nathan, Noel, and Nicole, 15, 12, and 7.
Honestly, guys, was this planned and I didn't know? Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys could make it today. So let's delve into this. So you carry a baby for 9 months, and the previous season, that's what we covered, just everything to do with that, from morning sickness to, just the scares that could come with it, and etc., miscarriages, we dealt with that. Just all these things, and just carrying the baby to full term, and whether you pushed or went through CS, and now you have the baby in your hands, and so let's think about going back to work. And I'm happy that you're more an entrepreneur, and she's going back to employment, And so what does that look like? How long do you take? Because I guess you're your own boss. Do you take the whole year off because you can? How is it for you? Are you working and perhaps you're out and things like that? I remember last year when I was expecting my 4th, getting calls for jobs and guys going like, okay, you can come work for us. Just jump into calls when you're on maternity leave. And I'm like, huh? Maternity leave is maternity leave, So how was it for you getting, having the baby and just going through that maternity leave? Did you get time? How much time did you get? How was that 3-4 months, year for you?
So for me, I remember first when I got the job at Scan Group, because the Gabriel's time, I was working for myself, so then that was easy. You just tell guys, I'll be back when I'm back.
Yes.
Yeah. And luckily we had put in place systems to enable the business to run in our absence, so that really helped. Now, George's time, I was working at Scan Group, and agency life is really busy, So I get the baby and then go on maternity leave and then come back.
How many months did you get?
3 months.
Oh,
yeah. So
wow.
they give you 3 months. So when you go back, I think it's almost like you've forgotten that there are, hard deadlines, there are KPIs, there are things going on.
Even
and then,
your password.
Yes, and
To start with.
exactly, exactly. So going back, you realize that, oh my gosh, like life has to continue exactly the way it was before you left, and the KPIs have to be met. There's like no, gosh, you've just had a baby. No, there isn't that. Yeah, it's for okay. So
You can
Grace,
leave
what
at
are the no? What are the numbers looking like? What do we need to do different? What do we need to change? And then when you go back home, You have a little 3-4-month-old baby who needs to nurse, who is still waking up at night. I mean, so it was really tough.
I can imagine.
Going back. So those first 3 months back are tough. And then you're not at home to be breastfeeding throughout. So of course now the milk also takes a dip because of that. And then now I remember I had expressed a lot of milk. And so it was in the freezer, so you know they would remove. And you know, as they're using the expressed milk, you have to keep like expressing more. And then I went back to the office and I was like, where are we supposed to be expressing from? So am I going to do it from the car? So I tried doing it from the car for some time. So I had the automatic ones. So you put in batteries and then you express. But when I was expressing in the car, I was like, no, I don't think I should be doing. I think we need a room. So I remember going to HR and then I was like, I think we need a room for like moms to be using. And so they're like, actually, that's a good idea. So we walked around and then we identified a room.
Oh, that's nice.
And then it was cleaned and what. And so we put a really nice chair, actually very similar to this one. Then I was expressing from there. And then I was like, now I need a fridge to put this
milk.
Oh, yes, because you need a fridge, yes.
So then HR are like, okay. So then a tiny little fridge, almost the size of this poof, was like bought. So then, you know, so I was expressing and then putting the milk in the fridge. And then I think I went and asked now for a microwave. I was like, now I can't be, like I'm expressing lunchtime. So I can't. So I need to like warm my food, and then you know when you express it, it's like a whole operation. HR are like, okay, Grace, no, now just go,
just walk out, warm your food, and then come back.
Come back, and then you know all those things. Please. So then, but by the time I was leaving Scan Group, there was like a room with a chair and a fridge for you to put the milk. So I was like, okay, so this is it. So you have to keep like asking for the things that you need as a corporate mom.
And I remember when I had my first child and the room being set up and then like, I think it's like a bug that had hit. So at some point we were like 10 ladies who need to, you know, go through the process. So they know how to expand, have more seats, larger fridge and all that. So I guess depending on the needs, but I think what I'm also hearing you saying is that if you're that mom who's a working mom, to also bring it up if it's not happening in your workplace. Because I've heard of moms who do it from the bathrooms, in the office, or the car and all that. And if your car is not tinted, like all the best. So I think it's so cool if you can push for those sort of policies in your workplace. And for you, how was it, Liz?
Well, for my first child, I started out as a corporate mom. So I was working at that time. I think it was the first baby in the company. So yes. Nice. So we started off in the bathroom. And then later they set up a place for me in the kitchen. So yeah, that really helped out.
Like a private space in the kitchen?
Like the kitchen would be mine when I'm pumping, literally. Like everyone else was out and I would just do it in the kitchen. Yeah, though it was a challenge. I definitely
because I was going to ask, you know, I find there's one place I've worked where I'd put the milk I'm expressing in the same fridge people are putting their food. And at some point they're like, who's putting breast milk? You know, so.
But at that time we did. At that time
you all went through being breastfed. Can you calm down? That's true. How was that for you? Like using the kitchen. One guy's like, no, we can't use this kitchen. Someone is pumping in.
Imagine I had a container where I used to put an ice pack, and that's where I store my milk because we didn't have a fridge at that time. Though I was very grateful because we started off from the bathroom to the kitchen. So it was a more comfortable place to do it.
And you know, I always say, I think there's just something about women, you know, like women are able to just rise up to that occasion, you know, because if you think about it, like how many women get the luxury of, you know, even those 3 months, you know, if you think about like our nannies, or, you know, just a lot of jobs that need somebody there, like, you know, for them to make money. Women in business, you know. So most times, unless you have a good employer, like in the case of like someone taking care of your children, and if they get pregnant, you tell them, okay, I give you 3 months and I'll pay. You know, others, for most people, when they're, like I know the ladies who do my hair, they're always like, if I take maternity leave, like you go.
Yeah.
If you want to take
That's
3 months,
true.
unless you have money for those 3 months. If you don't, you best come back.
Yeah.
But you find women just being so resilient and just trying to make it through. And I guess that's the spirit of being a woman.
Yeah.
And tell me about, there's going back to work and the expressing. But nowadays, unlike our mom's times, we are also not just confined to the house. People go back to church.
Yeah.
People go on vacation. People go sit in a restaurant and meet your girlfriends.
Yeah.
How was that for you? And I know maybe it was a little different for the first child, second child, etc. Like I know for myself, I don't like being in a house. So soon as I could, when that awkward CS walk is done and I can walk like a normal human being, I want to be out and
there.
meet somebody or just drive
Enjoy the breeze
even for
and-
30 minutes and come back. Otherwise, I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I left, I'd driven, I think, for almost like 20 minutes to like the restaurant.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh man, like I'm not dressed to breastfeed, so I had to go back home unless now I'll live to my dress room. Like those things you don't think about as a new mom. Like and then you check your bag, you maybe carry diapers, you didn't carry wet wipes. How was it for you and how do you do it? Because I think when we do baby showers, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
So for a lot of new moms or even moms of second, third babies, like it's things that you're still learning what to carry, how to do your vacations, etc.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that is for you guys. Maybe you can share.
You've said like how to dress when you're leaving the house.
I know.
And you have a small baby. First of all, buttons.
just
Yeah.
buttons.
Buttons,
Zips.
Yeah.
what else?
Or the way you
Or the
wear
loose
like a
neck.
t-shirt inside.
Yes.
Oh, so that you can lift it from
then
here.
a loose top, then you
Yes,
can
and then
lift
you
this
can
one.
lift it. I remember for the first baby, we didn't have this cool. They're this really cool shoes.
Nowadays, yes.
Those ones are not there those days. 11 years ago. Either you do like a kikoi or whatever. Then for the second baby, now there are those really cool things. So you hold the baby and then you nurse the child.
Yeah.
But I think for the first baby, for Gabriel, we were home throughout. Like we were like those, first-time parents, like typical first-time.
Yeah.
Nowadays I look at my brother.
Because they're having babies now.
Yeah.
Babies now and they're so easy. And,
Life is
oh
good.
my gosh, you should see Muigai and Wamoy and their child. I'm like, is this parenting now in?
Even like kuna baridi, go back to the house. The normal narrative. Yeah.
So we were first-time parents for. Are we even getting visitors? The baby has to have
The first
set
vaccination.
of vaccines.
Vaccination.
First set.
First set.
Yeah, like 6 weeks. I'm telling you, leaving the house is like a full operation. You prepare for like an hour.
Yeah.
Do you have this? Okay, have we packed diapers? Have we packed wipes? Have we packed extra clothes? What if the poop does its thing and then now you have to change the whole
thing? Wow.
So we used to pack, my gosh.
Yeah.
We went back to church. Now talking about church. Went back to church, I think after like 4 or 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then went to the creche. Hey, now in the creche, like even the space for changing the baby. Baby number 1, you clean that place. You're like,
Fast before you place
Fast before you place your baby.
and then you're like, okay, is this like a good Nini? Then you change our Gabriel. Going out like with friends, we did not do that for the first child for sure. Like we were just in the house, and then every once in a while you want to go, like say to the supermarket or whatever, so you go and then you quickly come back because you don't want to hear when you had gone, the baby cried and you, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The second time, I think we did, of course, now the creche and everything, but I think I was more relaxed. So you're just like, okay, so where's the mat? Yeah. You just put the mat. There's no like extra cleaning and suji. Oh my gosh. I think we almost wore gloves. Like when you're doing things, you're like, don't want contamination. And
I was telling someone the other day how with the fourth child, I've like thrown out so many things. I think with the first I had separate dish rack, separate, sanitizing. And then I was telling some friends of mine, when I was weaning, I even had a spoon that checked the temperature of the food before you start feeding the baby. I'm like, now it's whatever spoon I find. In fact, the other day I was seeing these plastic bibs, the ones that collect. I'm like, I think I stopped at baby number 1. Like, we just eat.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and we'll change the top after. How was it for you?
Okay, for me, for my first child, I found myself getting into postpartum depression. It was a very difficult time for me because my son had a problem with colic. I could barely sleep.
I remember colic.
My husband could barely sleep when he was working. And we had tried everything. We basically tried even changing my diet. Until we found a doctor who told us to avoid taking any protein from the cow. And that's how it stopped. But at that time, it was such a challenging time for me. I didn't even like visitors. Like I would see people, they want to carry my child, but I would be so exhausted. You want to carry my sleeping child, who I have really worked hard to put to sleep. Oh my God, that was traumatizing for me. I would see a visitor, like, please just see. Don't carry. So at that time, going out was not for me. Because rest was very important for me. My mental health at that time was not in a good place. But I thank God for my husband because he really supported me at that time. And he helped me a lot. Yes, but one time he just told me, you know what, going out is good. Just go out and breathe. Leave the child with the nanny. Let's just drive. And I actually started enjoying going out. Even when I decided to go out, I realized my clothes were smaller.
Oh my God!
Because I was always in the house. Then all of a sudden you're putting on the
usual clothes,
and they don't fit. That's when I realized I'd added weight, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, fine. Now I need to go out a little more, and it got easier and better, and the healing process also, happened, and so baby number 2 came. All my babies have had colic, but my third one was the worst. I could not sleep. Yes, hers was just intense. But I think by then, motherhood was so much easier. I knew how to deal with colic at that time. And so that's what I did, and would go out, would have fun. I actually traveled with my daughter for a month. With my husband, we went for a tour with our 3 kids. And I mean, it was not difficult for me. She was 6 months old by then. So we just had formula and enough milk, because at that time the doctor told us, since you're leaving the country, don't feed the child. Since she's just 6 months, just use formula, because formula is heavier. And that's what we did, and we had a good time.
Nice.
In fact, I think that 0 to 6 is the best time to travel. When you don't have to tell the restaurant, nipatie mash, alafu soup. It's just, for me, I prefer
milk and formula.
It's always easier.
Always easier.
So we need to take a break, but I'm just here on overdrive because I'm like, you talked about clothes, and the other day someone reached out to me and they're like, Faith, if you're going to talk about the 4th trimester, talk about how your wardrobe is in like 4-5 levels. You have the before baby, during, after, and then in case you lose weight or put on more. So when we come back, let's see how you handle going back to work and all that with just the different levels. And also just to go deeper into aspects of, the depression. How do you handle that at work, and you have to do all these things. Where does that fit in? So breathe, and we'll be right back after this break.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is She, and we're talking about the 4th trimester. And I have amazing ladies here taking us through what their work was, going back to work, going back to their businesses, you know, with the small baby, thinking about the baby, worrying if the baby is fine, etc. And so before I forget, you know, I think this is so important. Maybe it's because it touches on me. You know, I'm not ashamed to say, maybe a little, but I put on like 20 kgs with each child. Like, it's either more, maybe 21, but never less with each child. And I've had 4. And so the good thing I hear people saying is that it's better to put on weight during the pregnancy than after. But whichever way, if you put on that weight, most of it perhaps will go during the maternity leave. But come the time you're going back to work, like you said, it's just the shock. Or even you're going on that vacation or you're going to that restaurant and you don't have enough button down clothes. You know, maybe in the house you have the dira that you've cut with scissors so it opens up, you know, because that's what, you know,
But they have diras with zips.
now
they have
yes.
so
I saw them for my 4th. I'm like, now you come up with these diras, like when I'm done. But you know, then there's just this whole thing. And I remember with my first child going back to work and I had nothing to wear. Like I literally shopped like new you know, I was working for the bank, then shopping for new suits, you know, like fresh suits for work. And then now you worry that maybe you'll put on more weight. You know, how has it been? Or do you just wear free size clothes with a belt that you just keep adjusting? It can be so confusing.
It can.
I don't know how you handled it, but I think for me, because I've been having children for the last 9 years, but you know, that's a blessing. You know, I shouldn't say that lightly.
You
know, but because of that, I have like, you know, different capsules in my wardrobe. I have, you know, different clothes. But how do you do it? Because now that's clutter as well. You know, how did you handle it yourselves? Did you make it work, or I don't know, new wardrobe every child?
So this is a safe space, right?
Yes. I should have said she, the safe space. Yes.
I wore my maternity clothes for like a month after. So like when I was pregnant and I was in the office, I had this, do you know those really comfortable trousers?
It's so weird. Every mom has those comfortable trousers.
Maternity trousers. So I wore them for a long time until I think now they, you know, like now you're like, okay, now seriously, Murugi, go and buy
new clothes.
Go and buy new clothes. So I used to do like lots of maternity pants, like formal pants. So you can go to the office with them. And then they have the big band.
The pouch.
I loved. So then that's actually how I dressed for like a month plus before I got serious on like, okay, now let me go and do something. And then of course now the jackets work throughout. So whatever you're wearing, like when you do the jacket, you're good. And then I had some dresses, you know, those two wraparound dresses. So I actually wore them. They were maternity dresses, but I wore them. It's still sort of like wax. And then, you know, the body has changed. Oh my gosh. I used to be, like when I got married, I was 57 kilos.
What?
Yes.
How we started in the same show?
When I got married.
57, I was a teenager. Doing kuwa tofauti.
So I remember on that, actually remember on the day we got married, as my husband and I were going into a honeymoon, so there was a weighing scale. So I actually remember that number. I was like,
57.
57. So obviously, it's not 57 anymore.
But at least we can laugh about it.
No, you're like, it is what it is. There are 2 beautiful children to show for it. But that's what I did in terms of clothes. I actually wore those clothes. And then you're going back to the office, and you know, like you've had a baby, and all the other women have not, most of them have not had children. So you're also like sort of setting a pace for like, how do we dress when we're going into these boardrooms? How are we dressing when we're doing this thing? So there's that pressure. There was like that pressure that I had at the time. Like but then later you're like, you know, I'm a mom, like it's okay. Like it's okay to wear clothes that are more functional, and then now later you can now come and, you know, go back to like the way we dress in corporate. So
Yeah.
Because even in the office, you have to express, right?
You
yes,
have to.
you have to.
So I guess the
Which is
clothes
why-
also need to work. Unless you're going to remove all your clothes.
Unless you
and
want to remove,
express.
yeah.
Which is why the buttons work.
Yeah.
So when you go to the office, you do your thing, and then then you go
Wow.
back. Yeah. So I think that's what happened. Of course, now I haven't now back to the weight conversation. I haven't managed to like go back to that place, but I think it's also now getting to the place where like I'm comfortable being healthy, and focusing on like other metrics. So is my blood work okay? Is my urine work okay? Is it so? There's so many other things to like think
and
about
just the actual
than
skills.
to think
Skill.
about. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this scale, this has to go. So
You just set me
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
I feel set free.
yeah, so let's be okay.
I
And,
know.
and you know, the bodies have gone through so much.
True.
Like I remember even for the first baby, I was put on hormones because my hormonal count was low. So you're watching an ad, you're crying. I'm like, why am I crying? Like, what's going on?
It's the hormones.
Yeah, it's the hormones.
Oh, wow.
Then you carry the baby. Of course, your tummy changes, everything changes.
Yeah.
Your bust size is bigger.
Yeah.
So it's just you've gone through, like you've brought forth life. Yeah.
Manufactured.
Yeah. Milk.
Manufactured milk.
Yeah,
It's
like a
true.
factory for
Yeah.
those few years.
So I think we should give ourselves like a lot of grace in terms of
True.
So this is the process it has taken to bring forth these wonderful children. It's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it went.
Yeah.
How was it for you?
Wow.
like
She
that
said a lot
sigh.
that I also experienced, but the pressure to look good after giving birth. Don't you all go through it?
And it's so
You want-
difficult.
Yeah, you want that flat tummy. Whack. It's not coming back so fast. I'm
Or
also
coming back at all.
Yeah. Like my last baby was C-section. My 2 last kids were C-section. And you can't really like put on the shapers and all these other things. And I also went through, I can't remember what it's called, but it's more of like a collapsed muscle. Of
Is
the,
it diastasis?
I think so.
Yeah, the one they
So,
call diastasis recti around here.
yes. So when the baby is like on the 3rd trimester, like all your muscles collapse. And so you get that hanging tummy. And for me, I think the challenge was just trying to figure out, okay, it's already here. How am I going to dress? I am a person who likes covering up a lot, especially if I'm insecure about a part of my body, especially my tummy. So I always find ways to cover it up. When it's covered up, I'm more comfortable. And maternity clothes were comfortable. They stretch a lot. So I also wore
Maternity
my
clothes.
maternity clothes. But as time went, I started discovering, okay, fine. You can wear are they called the A-line dresses, where they kind of snatch your waist.
And then
they give
open
you
up
that
just in time.
Yeah.
just in time. And then they go like this. So people think you have this nice to hips and small waist, but it's in there. It's hidden.
Oh my gosh, you reminded me of the peplums. Do you remember the
peplums.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So just understanding our bodies and looking for something comfortable. You're pumping, you have to put on those breast pads, because especially I realized when I would put on something silky, oh my God, the whole office would be like, what is that? The boob
And the people who manufacture nursing bras need to do them better. Because they don't shape, they do nothing
They
for
do
you.
nothing. And then you'd get that brown ring on your boobs.
Oh, yes.
And so one thing I used to do, I would actually make sure I have a scarf.
Oh,
Because
Very smart.
sometimes the boobs just don't, the breast pads are not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
And
story
so
as
I would
well.
just carry a scarf and I would cover my chest. By the time I get home, people think I'm just an ordinary woman, but I am a mother who has so much milk in the breast, ready to release the milk.
You reminded me of this time we were going for one of those meetings. And then, like, I was ended up figuring out, like, color black is a color.
Yeah.
Because all other colors, like, will show.
Yeah.
So this time, and then, I don't know if you guys remember, like, you think about your baby,
Yeah.
and then milk checks.
Yes.
You start feeling like the breast is pulling something, yeah?
Yes.
Like, gravity or something.
So we're going into
And
this
you have a
meeting.
letdown.
You have a letdown.
I had a letdown.
Yeah.
And I had put in the pads, but it was not enough.
Yeah.
So I actually remember my boss, and then he was just so cool, by the way, bless him. He was like, I think you may want to like go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
And excuse
like
yourself.
just
Sort yourself out.
I'm the one presenting.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what is it? It's like, Grace, just go to the bathroom, and then come back. I was like, Rahul, what is it? He's like, okay, you're leaking.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
Was it that visible?
Crazy. It was very visible. So it was just intense.
Yeah.
So luckily I had a scarf, the scarf.
Praise the Lord for
The
scarf.
scarf that you use to express. So there was always like a scarf in the car.
Yeah.
So I went to the car, covered nicely, put on the
Yeah.
blazer,
Yeah.
and then into the meeting. Let me tell you, I was like, if people knew what women go through to sit in those boardrooms, especially when you've had a new.
I know.
It's a lot.
Because it's
so
already
much.
when you're full, it's a separate headache.
Yeah.
Like you can have a headache here and a headache
And
here.
a headache
It's so
here.
painful.
It's
So
so
you're sitting there in a meeting being asked questions and you have a whole headache until you think about the baby and then
And then in that meeting, someone will be like, so congratulations. How is your baby? I'm like,
That's
don't
it.
mention baby.
My baby.
Don't mention. Because then I'll think about it, and then now more milk will
will come out.
Yeah.
I like
So
the
you
tip for the
reminded me that.
scarf, but
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
so hard still,
It
I
is.
think.
It is.
And I know now there's this new thing they put, like it's a cap.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. It started with a lot of the celebrities,
Yeah.
but now
Okay.
like I know it's in stores in Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you put that in, and it's instead of not the
collects
normal
the-
pad.
yes.
So it collects milk, but at some point it gets full.
No.
Yes, and of course, if it gets full, it will pour.
Yeah.
But I also think they didn't think about girls with big busts because now, do you want to add
Some
a
of
cap
us
here?
cannot do that.
I know. So when I was having my fourth, which was last year, I thought about getting it because I was like, when I go back to work, this will be good.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, do I want to add like a layer like this to my already big bust? So I didn't get it, but I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
But I think the scarf is a good idea.
It's a good idea. You'll just cover your stains and you move on. Yeah. See,
But I think as you get older, I think just like we were saying with the subsequent kids, it gets easier and gets more comfortable. So for me, it's not a horror anymore if I stain my blouse like it was maybe
Before.
with my first baby.
Yeah.
It wasn't a horror this time when I didn't fit into my clothes like it was with my first baby. Like I think the older you get, and I think I'm even better mentally as with the subsequent babies than with the first, where I'd be like, don't rock the baby, put the baby down, don't give the baby eye contact. We'd read all these books. So I think with time, it also gets easier.
Yeah.
And maybe let me ask, I know you talked about going on a vacation with a baby. Walk me through and walk us through dealing with packing and what vacations have to, because I also want us to demystify this thing of, because I've had children, I forget vacations until the child is 10. True. Because it's okay to, one of my mentors says, your child comes to join your life and your routine, right?
Yeah.
And not the other way
Not the
around.
other way
Like,
around,
so how was it for you doing things like vacations, right? And also doing routines at home, leaving the baby with the nanny and walking away. How do you draw that line that now mtoto si or the nanny and you're out there? Like, where does the balance lie as well, so that you're still the mom?
Yeah.
How has it been doing some of those things? And vacations could also be vacations where you leave the baby.
And you leave.
I'm speaking to myself, Faith, where you leave the baby and go on vacation.
And go on vacation.
Because my sons are my handbag. Like my hubby literally has to sit me down and we talk about how it's not seen to leave your children and go. So how
But
has
Faith,
that
you're
been?
special.
I know. I need Jesus. So how has that been for you? Both ways, on vacations and even just leaving the house and leaving the baby. Because also you find moms who done and dusted. I've had the baby. Now there's somebody else's business. Where's the next
I'm out.
vacation?
Yes.
Your experience. Anyone can go first.
Okay. Well, for me, For my first child, I left my baby and went back to work when the baby was 4 months old. That was my first child. It was very difficult to trust a stranger with my child. At that time, we were living in a one-bedroom house. I'll never forget. God has taken us from far. We could not even afford a 2-bedroom house, so the nanny used to sleep in the living room and we would sleep in the bedroom. And I remember that time when I was looking for a nanny, I had specifics. Even how they look. Like me, you have to have a smiley face. You have to look kind.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're not touching my baby.
A soft voice.
A soft voice. So it was so difficult for me. My husband at that time was working, and for me, I needed to trust somebody. And at the same time, we needed the money. I needed the job. And I just prayed and I told God, this is not easy for me. Just give me peace. Whoever I get, let them just love my child. I don't even care about the cleanliness of the house. May they just love my child as their own. Or may they just love their child as a relative or whatever. And that's what I did, because I took a step of faith. Like, that is all I had. At the end of the day, these children are not ours. They are God's children. And so you might be with that child and the child gets hurt. You might be with that child and the child gets sick.
And it happens.
So you cannot, you have to put your trust in God that your child is covered. He is their father and they are safe in his hands. And so that's what I did. And I went to work. But I can tell you, didn't I call that woman? Every hour. Hello? How's the baby? How's the baby? Then I had a neighbor who was a housewife. I'll just call her and ask her, wako kwa nyumba? Unamwona? Ananika nguo? Like I was always finding ways
To get information.
to get to know how my child is. And I was always the first one. Yeah, I was always the first one to leave work. Like everybody knew, even my boss would let me leave 30 minutes earlier, 1 hour earlier. I would just rush home to see my child. And I would be so happy. And I would cuddle him and thank God for his life. And so it got easier. The more I did it, the easier it got. And I just leaned on God. That's all. There was nothing special. It was just God. That's all I
And
had.
I love that. I think it's such a God thing. Like if we went backwards, we'd be praying for nannies. And not husbands. Because my friend, you know, like that whole trust thing, and and just finding a good person who you can live with your children.
It's very
not
difficult.
easy. But there are good nannies out there.
They are good.
You know,
And let me tell you, that woman loved my child. That woman loved my son.
Oh, that's good.
And she took care of him for almost 2 years until she had to leave. But she loved my son. And for me, that was enough.
Yeah.
You know,
and
sometimes
especially for the first baby, I think.
You know, sometimes we find ourselves getting so distracted about how our house looks. And you have left this woman with a newborn who needs 24 hours, 12 hours attention. And you come home and you're just complaining about how the house looks. Where are things on the floor? But even you as a mother, when you're left at home with that child, what
for
happens?
the weekends, the house
You
is a
barely
mess.
get time to tidy up. So sometimes it's important to just have a little grace for these women who take care of our children, because at the end of the day, she's there for the child. Otherwise, if the child was not there, you'd have Mama Fua.
Who comes once a
Anakuja
week.
anaosha.
You can even pick them, you know, like you don't even have to have a specific person.
Yes.
Cleaning is cleaning.
Cleaning is cleaning. But these women who take care of our children, they are servants of God who have been brought to our house to nurture our children, to love our children. And because they're spending so many hours with our children, let's love on them and let's respect them. Yes. So that's what I do a lot. I've had a nanny for the past 10 years. She's literally raised my last born.
You guys are the women we say blessed among women. Your praises are sung at the gate.
Let me tell you, it's never easy. I cannot tell you it has been a walk, a good journey. There are days you will find yourself struggling with this person. But at the end of the day, you just keep reminding yourself why they are there. And you just tell God, give me grace to deal with this person. Give me grace to teach them each day. Because at the end of the day, they don't have your vision.
It's true.
You have to show them what you desire, what you want. And that's what I've done with this nanny. And even the times when I've traveled with my children, like when I traveled with my daughter, she was 6 months old. My nanny really helped me to pack. I would ask her, how many outfits does this child use in a day?
Yeah, because she knows.
Yes, she'd tell me maybe 4 outfits. Yeah, you know, depending on whether she pukes or whether she messes herself. So 4 outfits, and that's what I did. I packed 4 outfits for every day. I remember going to toy market. I shopped. Let me tell you, for the journey, that 1 month journey,
I'm saying praise the Lord for thrift.
Yes,
It comes in handy.
they were very affordable. So I went, I shopped for clothes. But then I told my husband, if we are able to get a place where we can wash the clothes, some Airbnb, then they were not Airbnbs. They were like 2-roomed. You know, when you go to a hotel and they have like two bedrooms, 3 bedrooms like that, and then sometimes they have a washing machine. So I would also recommend when you're traveling with a child, the rooms you take should have a washing machine. They should have a sink where you can wash your baby bottles, because we used a lot of formula. We needed hot water. And I carried something. There's like a container where you put bottles when you want to sanitize them. So I'd put the bottles in there. It was like a nice box that could just fit in one suitcase. And that's what I did. So I had my bottles, my formula. I had a bottle warmer. Sometimes we'd find ourselves
About a bottle of water.
Yes. Sometimes we'd be in the train.
My life currently.
Would be in a train and the child starts crying. You've tried the kanyonyo, but you know, 6 months ni kama njaa imezidi, hashibi. That bottle warmer, it would sort my life. So what I would do, I had like 6 bottles for the day. I would put the dry milk in those 6 bottles, measured, no water inside. I would make sure I've measured the formula in the 6 bottles. I remove my cold water, warm water, shake that thing. I'll do that.
You're sorted.
I'm sorted.
I love it.
I've sorted the baby. We're in the train, moving, but my child is feeding my friend.
Wow.
So that's what I did.
Impressive.
I just came up with a routine that worked for me at that time.
Oh, wow. These are such helpful tips, you know.
I love it.
It's actually possible to travel with a baby.
It's possible.
And I also loved your tips on the house help as well, because I know it's not easy for many, you know, and so it's nice to just hear from someone who's gone through it and how you've successfully managed that.
But I can say, not every woman house help is good.
Of course.
Because I don't want people to think, you know,
let me just make it work.
Let me
with
be
this
nice.
one.
And I'm not saying being nice, like you're accepting every flaw that comes with them. No. What I'm saying is this: have a little grace. Sometimes they might fail here and there, and these are not serious things. Like the same way we have grace for our spouses. There are times you're discussing and somebody speaks to you in a way you are not happy. And even how you communicate with them, you are expressing and showing them grace. And you're telling them, I am not happy how you spoke to me. Not like you're telling them, excuse me, who do you think you are? You're just, you know, communicating well. Like, just communicate graciously. There are those women who are not good. I experienced them also. And sometimes when you have that thought, you know, God gives us discernment. You know for sure this person should not be in your house. Don't take a day, 2, 3 to think about it. The moment you feel that thing, just release them. I had a very, very, very bad experience with a nanny who locked my children in the house and left. And I had been feeling that feeling. This person is funny. I would go, then I had a restaurant. So I'd wake up. By 6, I was in Gikomba, shopping for tomatoes, potatoes, and onions, and then I would rush to my restaurant to go and cook lunch for the office, the people who are working around there.
Wow.
And so I was always so tired. I didn't even have time to really think about getting somebody else. So my thing was like, okay, I will look during the weekend. I will look for someone. I would say that a lot. And by the time I would come home, my kids would be asleep, and that used to torture me. I used to feel so bad that I've left my children with this person, and then I come home, I find my kids asleep. So I would have time, I would go and remove them even from the bed, hug them and kiss them and just look at them. But this day, this woman did this to me. She stole a few things from me. She locked the house and left. I came home with my husband and found there were no lights, and the house is locked. And where are my kids?
Traumatizing.
Where are my kids? Where are my 2 boys? Then my daughter was not there. And I just started screaming at the top of my voice.
Tough.
And I was screaming and I'm begging God for help. And I'm numb. I couldn't even go to the neighbors. I'm just telling God, where are my children? And my neighbor went and knocked to the neighbor's house. Did you see this woman? No. Did you? We call her, she's mteja. So we are like, and then you know it's your home. Since you've left your kids and a nanny, you don't carry a spare key. Personally, but these days, oh my God, I always have a key. It traumatized me.
Experience,
And so I was like, where are my kids? So eventually she switches on her phone and tells us that she has put it under the rug. I take the key, I open the house, I start shouting, my sons, where are you? Where are you? I go to the bedroom, I find them asleep. They were not even well dressed. Even my small baby was naked. He had pooped in the bed. I was like, what happened? Why was she doing this to me?
Oh my
I totally did not understand why she had to do this. And you see, for like 2 weeks, I kept feeling this woman should not be in my house. But because I was so busy, I did not think about focusing, sitting down and saying, you know what, I need to do this. And sometimes our jobs, our businesses will take us there. But I just pray that God will give us that discernment and the strength also, because sometimes you feel like I don't have an option. I don't have an option.
That's true.
But thank God these days we have so many communities that are willing to help us mothers. Online you'll hear people who have trained nannies. You can get trained nannies from here. Thank God now our siblings are married and they also have children. So sometimes you can just find yourself, okay, fine, just check my kid for a number of hours, I'll be back. But it's never easy. What if you don't have a sibling? What if you don't have
It
so
can take different forms.
it can be very challenging. So this motherhood thing.
No, I think being a working mom.
But let me echo something she said about the Holy Spirit, because I remember every nanny we've had, we've not had one, we've not had just one, we've had several. But every nanny, you're like, God, is this the person for my home for this season? So that, I really like that. And then God, you know, is the one who knows the heart of this person. He's the one who knows what's happening, because we didn't install nanny cams. So he's the one who knows what's happening when you're not in the house and all that. So I really like that bit about
And it's so interesting.
The Holy Spirit.
Like every time there's a help who's not like her vibe is not right. As a mom, I will like I will always know. But the sad thing is what, like you rightly said, you know, you end up being so consumed maybe with work and responsibilities, and you just keep postponing. You're like, I'm going to change this person, you know, and most times it just catches you.
It catches you.
That's true.
It catches you. And then also another thing it does is that even the next person who comes, you have no trust. Because you're like,
of what you've experienced.
I will treat you the same way
as the
past person treated me. And so it's important to remind ourselves that not everybody is the same.
That's true.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's just keep praying and trusting God for a good nanny. I prayed for my current nanny. I prayed for her, and when she came to my house, she told me, I will raise your kids until they are grown. My firstborn was 5 years, almost 4 years. 5 years when she came in. My secondborn was 3. And now my firstborn is 15. My secondborn is 12. And Nicole, my 7-year-old, found the nanny. Yes. And I told God, I want to settle with one person. And so God has also given me the grace for this woman. Because I didn't have grace for many.
Keep changing.
Let me tell you, I used to change them like the way you change socks. Every morning you go, you wear your shoes.
You pick another one.
When you come, you throw them wherever you're throwing them, pick another one. I changed nannies like that. Almost, I think, 10 until God gave me this woman. And so I'm so grateful for her. She's not perfect, but I thank God for her.
That's amazing. I know we need to wind up, but I really just want to hear from you. Something helpful for the many women watching. You know, some want to have children. Maybe it's crazy for them doing work, you know, going back to work after children and things like that. What's that one thing either you did or somebody told you that, like, for you changed your life in that 4th trimester? If you can think of just that one thing, you're like, wow, like if you just do this one thing, like it will change your life. in that 4th trimester?
It's involve God. Involve God in the process, as you're going back.
Yeah.
Because I remember going back and you have to catch up on these 3 months. As you've been away, work has been going on, and things have been happening. So there are things you may sit in a meeting and go like, what are guys discussing? You know, you've not been there. And 3 months is a long time in an agency. So involve God so that, like, God, I remember, would point me into, look at this report. There's something there that you probably need to pay a little bit of attention to. But also, more importantly, God is the one who's taking care of our children, right? Even when you're not there. He's the one, I remember praying for, there's a time KPLC did its thing. So there was no power, and I have frozen milk. I remember it was like 5 liters. I was like, God, I need this power to come back. At that time, I was like, I was talking with my husband. I was like, do we take the milk to like my mother's house? What do we do? Do you know we prayed and power came back?
Oh, wow.
We were like, past this, the milk will thaw. And once it thaws, I don't know what to do.
You pour it all into a bath, so they say the child showers in it. Which is such bad use of white gold.
Yeah.
But I remember my husband and I prayed. We were like, God, this is it. We have 3 hours. I remember I had called my mom. I was like, please be on standby because now this milk, So I remember we prayed, power came back. We're like, now we can feed, the baby can feed. So just involving God in the process, but also knowing that each child is different. I remember we also prayed over colic. Manze, we used to have infacol. That thing was called infacol. You have one in the living room, one in the bedroom, one everywhere. One day, I think we just prayed and said, God, you're the one who created this stomach. Just whatever needs to happen, just sort it out. Just sort it. Because, I remember there's a weekend, my husband and I, and he's so supportive. We were awake the whole weekend, like from a Friday all the way till Sunday.
Wow.
That Monday morning, we looked at each other and were like, but we didn't create this baby. God created this baby. We prayed over Gabriel, the colic just cleared, So, so involving God, I think is really,
I like that.
Yeah,
I agree with her, involving God, definitely. I think for me, something else that I had to learn was delegating, because especially when you are a perfectionist. There are people who say I am a perfectionist. I don't know.
You are.
I just think everyone should be like that.
It's the norm.
Everyone should be.
Yeah, but being a perfectionist, sometimes you tend to think people are not able to do what you want them to do. So you'll teach them, but you find yourself getting in there and doing it yourself. And then you end up getting so exhausted, so frustrated.
And your body is healing.
Your body is healing. Sometimes I visit my friends or my family members who have gotten babies, and you can see the nanny is idle, but they will not give the nanny to hold the baby because this is my baby. I'm not giving no nanny, Yet this is somebody you're living with every day. They need to learn that child. Because when they have a relationship with a child, I feel like they get to understand the child better, and they get into the routine with the child. So that delegation is very important. It's very, personally for me, I failed so many times. But the moment I realized, oh my gosh, I can get help from this woman, like the one I had currently, when I had my daughter, she would help me with that, especially when you have a CS. It's so difficult to even lift that child to breastfeed the baby sometimes.
Even get up from your seat.
Not everybody has a good experience with CS.
It's true.
Even pushing out the baby, there are people who take time to recover.
It's a different ballgame.
There are times you've not slept. The nanny is there the whole day. You get help from the child. So I would say learn to delegate.
Yes. I agree.
I love that.
And involve the entire ecosystem.
Yes.
Everyone who can help.
Everyone who can help.
I remember one time, just, the way you've been out, you've been waking up, not sleeping. One day we were like, this child has grandparents. We packed a bag, dropped the child, we watched a movie. Halfway through, you're like, what are we doing? Then you're like, it's okay, let's watch the movie.
Let's watch.
And then we went and picked up and they were fine.
And they were fine.
So taking breaks.
Another thing, sorry. You might have more than one child. Involve the other child. Sometimes the child is younger,
Yeah.
and sometimes the child is older. Even when they are young,
They can
change
still
the
do a lot.
baby, wash the
Yeah.
baby with the child.
Yes. And they love
Let
it.
me tell you,
Yeah.
they will help you.
No, it's true, they do.
They will give you a few moments to breathe, a few moments to go and make a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a few moments to go use the toilet. Because sometimes even the toilet, you can't use it. The
We
child
need a
is
full
children.
show to talk about how to shower or use the bathroom when you have a
Yes.
newborn.
Yes.
Because it's an art and a science.
It's an art. And these children are willing to help.
Yeah,
Involve them
that's
so
so
that they
true.
also love that child and they will not feel like this is now, this is the most important thing in this house. We are, the rest of us, we are walls.
Good point.
Yes.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel we could go on for another like 2 hours just talking about our experiences. But thank you so much for sharing so authentically, so beautifully. I've learned so much seated here since I'm sort of still in that season.
Okay.
But what I've loved the most is just talking about involving God.
Yeah.
You know, because I think at the end of the day, it's such a different version for every one of us. You know, like, yes, we both of us could have had a CS, but still very different, you know.
True.
I've had 4 CSs, but all 4 have been so different, you know. So just being able to still ask God for yourself. There's a friend of mine who was telling me just the other day that when it becomes difficult and you don't know what to pray, you just tell God, send help. You know, and sometimes that's just
So
it.
true.
You know, just God, send help. You know, and maybe someone will knock and they're like, I'm here to hold the baby, go shower. And you're like, oh, you know, at least I can
That was
shower,
enough for the
have a
day.
private shower, you know, without having, you know, I would have the baby there with the car seat or the rocker as a shower because I'm scared to leave the baby by themselves. You know, so just ask God to send help. And He's a faithful God.
faithful
And I think it was you who said, you know, that these babies belong to God. And, you know, so at the end of the day, just involve Him because, you know, I think He's more than really able and is the giver of that child.
True.
You know, I've sat here and I'm like, yo, being a mom and working or running a business is like you deserve, you know, that honor. So I salute you as well
We salute
for
you
being
too.
working moms and managing babies and all that. And all the moms watching as well, if you're a working mom and just managing all these things, we salute you. This has been She discussing the 4th trimester for working moms. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for joining us. See you next week right here on She.